Welcome to FOCGER, the go-to place for fans of on-chain games. Today we have with me Santiago and Nico, co-founders of the Caravana Game Studio, building Jokers of Neon, a roguelike card game where every hand counts. Build your deck, beat challenges, climb the leaderboard. It's built on Starknet, it's a live game, and was built with the Dojo game engine. What's up, guys?
Hey, Nick. Thank you for having us here. We are honored to be part of FOCGER and talk about on-chain stuff.
Super cool. I'm glad to have you guys here. You are, of course, FOCGERs yourselves. You're building fully on-chain games. And Jokers of Neon is a game that, for some reason, was not on my radar for quite a while, but then I played it at the recent ETC, or Dev Connect in Bangkok. It was the first time where I really got into it, and it's an extremely fun game, especially if you like Balatro or you like just cards. Beautiful art inside the game as well. And one of my friends, I think, plays it quite a lot.
Nice.
Very happy to be recording with you. So as the typical kind of Meet the FOCGERs question that I always ask on these first interviews is, you're a FOCGER, would like to know your backstory and what brought you into fully on-chain gaming in the first place. What were you doing prior to that in your career?
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm Nico. I'm one of the 3 co-founders of Caravana Studio. I'm a software engineer with over 8 years of experience. I started working as a full stack dev, then moved towards front end. And talking about blockchain, I started working on Starknet projects about 3 years ago because of a friend, actually, Damian. He's the 3rd co-founder of Caravana Studio. So yeah, he started insisting to build something on the blockchain and specifically on Starknet. We started working on a project called Starknet Forms. It was like a Google Forms clone on the blockchain, coded in Cairo 0. The UX was terrible. Transactions took forever to complete. It was terrible, really. And it didn't go anywhere, but it helped me to get involved in this world of blockchain apps. Then a year later, again, Damian came up with an idea and we started working on Starklings.app on top of the Starklings CLI project built by our friend Shrami. It's a platform to learn Starknet and Cairo from scratch, and it's still live, Starkling.app, and maintained by the community nowadays. And yeah, talking about gaming, I'm a big gamer myself. I spent hours and hours of my childhood playing video games. And I always had a big goal that was creating a game of my own, right? Just for a hobby. Just wanted to play a game that I had made and share it with my friends. But yeah, that's not an easy task to do on your own. And it's a harder task if you have a full-time job. But yeah, about a year ago, I decided to activate on that and started learning Unity. Actually, I was so hooked up by Balatro at that time and remember thinking this would be a good fit for an on-chain game. So I started to prototype it. Damian came to visit one day. I showed him what I got. That was almost nothing at that point. And he was like, yeah, let's do it on-chain. So we started planning the game and working on a first version. And a month later, we had a good first version working, and we organized the first tournament and traveled to Brussels for the ETC and showed the game there. And yeah, shortly after that, Santi joined us and we started working together as Caravana Studio.
Awesome. Yeah. I'd love your perspective as well.
I will do a way shorter than Nico. First of all, hey FOCGERs, hey Nick, thank you for inviting us. I am Santiago, Santi. So basically I've been a software engineer for about 6 years. I work in a company from Argentina for 3 years as backend dev. And then Damian just brought me to Starknet. And since 3 years, I started to participate in hackathons, contributing in open source repositories through OnlyDust. And right now, I'm just building my own fully on-chain game. That's pretty crazy. For the motivations, I've been a gamer since I was a kid. And games have always been part of my daily life. And I think that's something that every gamer have in common. It's he wants to create his own game. Nico too. I think that Dojo bring this opportunity, the cartridge guys bring this opportunity with the game jams. So we took that and just make it happen right now.
100%, yeah. It's interesting to hear both of your kind of perspectives on how you got here. But so you mentioned Balatro, of course. I think many call Jokers of Neon a fully on-chain Balatro. Now, why specifically are you two interested to actually build a fully on-chain game?
I think there's a good opportunity for the gaming industry here to combine fun gaming with finance. And players have this extra motivation of, hey, I'm playing a game that I love and would play for free, but if I get very good at it, I may get some money back as well, or collect items that have a real value outside the game. So I think that are the things that clicked most with us to really build a game that's fully on-chain.
Interesting. From my perspective, you can achieve that just through an on-chain game, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be fully on-chain, which is like leagues harder to actually create than a game that only has, let's say, tokens, or it has some NFTs within the game. Perhaps just the leaderboard is on-chain or something. But why go the full route? Basically, your development was much harder to do because you chose to go the fully on-chain game route. So is there any other things around this that kind of really make you want to push forward?
Yeah, I think transparency obviously is very important in these cases where players have incentives or can actually earn some tokens. So for me, it's very important that all happens in the blockchain and it's transparent to everyone. And more than that, we started working on Jokers of Neon thinking in a permissionless modding experience, so everyone could create their own version of the game. Recently, we participated in a Starknet hackathon and built our first version of the game that was moddable, so any creator can engage and create their own version of the games. I think also having a fully on-chain game allowed us to having the community to participate permissionless on our games.
Yeah, and I want to add that actually Starknet allows to make a fully on-chain game pretty easy and everything work pretty well. They have fast, cheap transactions, and I think it has much more sense to build fully on-chain game. Starknet is pretty good with.
Yeah, 100%. That's why there's, I think, 69 games right now building on Starknet, fully on-chain. It's a crazy amount, and no other ecosystem has this many, probably for some good reasons. Maybe we can touch on some of the kind of ideas behind the game design of Jokers of Neon. Now, some of the people that might be listening in might be experienced with playing Balatro, but probably not everyone. I've personally never played Balatro, for example. So can you just lay out how the game actually works from a player's perspective?
Yeah, you start with a poker deck of cards and you need to score points by forming poker hands and progressing through levels. Between levels, you have these shop faces with different items and special cards that boost your plays. So it's really like a deck building experience where you need to build your deck and make it more powerful so you can score more points and progress through higher levels. And we implemented recently this map where you can move around and choose your path through the game, choosing different shops with different items so you can strategize better. And we have this concept of bosses or rage rounds, as we call it, where you need to face difficulties in the game, and that makes it more interesting. I think that's the layout of the game.
Yeah, I want to add that the basic experience of Jokers of Neon is trying this build, buying these specific special cards, and then you try, and then you fail, and then you try another combination, different maybe poker hands. I think that is more try and error.
I think it's a game that's very accessible for anyone, and it's very easy to understand and start playing, but it's hard to master, and it has different layers of complexity and strategy that you start to understand the more you play the game, like Santi said.
Yeah, 100%. Like my playing experience with Jokers of Neon at DEFCONet in Bangkok as part of the player house that happened there, it was probably a few game sessions of 20, 30 minutes each. And maybe the first 10 minutes of the first session, I got a grasp of how the game works and I was having fun. This roguelike element where you continuously have to choose, I think, another card to add to your deck, right? That's the angle. But then you start understanding some of the kind of special mechanics, that the higher layers of the game. So probably within playing more than 1 hour, I was already engaging with those higher layers. So I think, and there's like more and more as you go deeper into the game. I think it's kind of a very engaging experience for a first player and extremely intuitive. I remember thinking that the art, especially for the special cards, was incredible. It just felt nice to have.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe we can chat about the on-chain component of the game. Now, with some game creators that I speak with, they're able to very precisely pinpoint what exactly does the on-chain element add to the player's experience, and sometimes what it actually takes away. Does it limit the playing experience in some capacity because the game just needs to be fully on-chain? Are there some specifics with Jokers of Neon that you can think about when it comes to this topic?
Yeah, I'll start with the negative part, and it's that the transaction time fast, I would say, but it's not as a Web2 game, right? It's not instant. You have definitely a friction point there, but it's getting better and better with all what Starknet is developing recently. Yeah.
A Web3 gamer will understand the time between the transaction and the actual action, but Web2 players, more casual players, just compare the time that it takes to make an action and just say, this sucks. But I think it will improve with the time, but right now we have that pay point, if you want to call it like that.
Yeah, I don't actually recall experiencing a major delay when I was playing Jokers of Neon. Like, it was not obvious that things take a few seconds to be logged onto the blockchain. So yeah, perhaps this is not an issue.
Times are, for a fully on-chain, extremely good, I say, because you can even notice. But if you're familiar with Balatro or other Web2 games, you expect like an instant response. But yeah, I'd say it's very playable at this point already, and it's getting better.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious if you had the chance to speak to some of the players that are really playing a lot of Jokers of Neon, who might not be a fully on-chain game industry person, and getting their perspective on what do they get from this game being fully on-chain. Have you had some conversations like that with some of your players?
Yeah, I think, as I said before, being able to play a game that you enjoy playing, and at the same time, if you get better, if you get good at it, you get some rewards for playing it. Thinking forward, we, with the mainnet release, are planning to launch an NFT collection. So the special cards will be NFTs. So you will be able to collect them and then use them in game, right? They will not be available at the starting like they are now. You will have a set of preset cards, but you will have to complete quests to unlock other cards that will be NFTs, and then those cards will allow you to then be used in game. I think that will change a bit how the game works and give the players a sense of progression throughout different games. Yeah.
Okay. And from a perspective of a player who might be more of a speculator type, how should they understand Jokers of Neon and how to approach the game if they're potentially looking to earn through playing the game? Is there like a specific way they should be playing?
Looking forward to the mainnet release, I would say getting engaged in the game and collecting all of these NFT cards that they will be able to trade in the open market for real money. And moreover, if they get good at playing and they can reach the top scores of the tournaments, of the leaderboards, they will get rewards for that as well.
If you can imagine that this will be released leading up to your mainnet release, is there a message you would like to give to the players who might be listening in? Is there something you would like to put across to the players who are really expecting the mainnet release and they want to understand how to best prepare for it and position themselves for maximum efficiency when the game goes fully on mainnet?
Yeah, I would say just join our Discord and get in the game early so you can understand really how to play it better and master it. We have always an early access version that's available for everyone on our Discord channel. So that's a good way to be prepared.
Gotcha. Now, you've mentioned Starknet and Dojo and Cartridge several times, and these are all ecosystems you're a part of, and of course you're using the tools that these entities have created over the past few years to basically make Jokers of Neon a real fully on-chain game. So I'm curious, what was your kind of path to actually deciding that you would build firstly on Starknet, but that you would also use the Dojo to build with?
Yeah, so as I said before, we started working on a Starknet way before starting on gaming specifically. We were part of the community already. We engaged with it in events and confirmed it was a great place to work on because of the people working on it. And besides that, the tech was top notch for gaming. I don't think there are a lot of other blockchains at the level of Starknet for specifically gaming. There are a lot of tooling, the cartridge controller, now they launched the arcade thing, and all this toolset that comes to you without literally doing anything. We just deployed our game with the Dojo toolset, and you have all these different tools with it that makes our lives a lot easier.
Yeah, how would it be if all these cartridge products were not here? How would your experience as a builder be right now as you're approaching mainnet release?
I don't think we were in this position because we would have to build our own wallet or use a wallet that's not specifically for gaming. Yeah, the session keys and all the things that comes with the controller wouldn't be there, and the user experience would be a lot worse.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a real game changer, I think, for all the games that are using the cartridge products, and it just gives a sense of this kind of unified gaming ecosystem as well, because if you want to play games on Starknet, quite possibly all of them use the cartridge products, right? Because they're built with Dojo. So it's a very nice loop. Now, I understand that you guys are also playing some of the live Starknet games, and of course you are also familiar with many of the other game builders, of which there are many, right? It's like a big family. As you mentioned, it's more than 69 games in development or live, more and more of them going live, right? Yeah, what has your experience been with playing some of these other live games?
We have such a great games right here. The Realms is doing a great job. Eternum is... I never play a game like Eternum, and it's just too easy to get engaged. It's just great to play on-chain games instantly.
Yeah, I think that level of complexity in a fully on-chain game, I think it's the first game to get it. I started playing Eternum in this season 1. I didn't play the season 0, so I'm just a beginner starting my first steps into Eternum, but it's great.
What has your experience been with playing Eternum so far? Would you say you feel overwhelmed with everything that's happening, especially as a new player that maybe hasn't had experience with playing this genre of games? Because I love this genre. So I'm now spending all of my time basically that are not producing or interviews or working, even during it actually. I have Eternum now open on a browser because I'm producing armies. That's my main thing that I'm doing for my guild. I'm curious, what are the things that you two are focused on in Eternum?
In the beginning, if you are not familiar with that type of game, it's pretty hard, at least for me. I have so many things to do, and yeah, it was hard, but in a couple of days, you will get all the mechanics. It's pretty intuitive in some kind of point.
Yeah, what I love also is you have lots of things to do. So it's not a game where you need to do just one thing or have one objective, but you can be like a donkey farmer and just make money with your donkeys. You can be so many different things in the game. So that's very appealing. And yeah, like I said, I'm just starting and I didn't get all the deepness of Eternum yet.
Yeah, we are not in the complete experience yet. Right now, I'm creating my first army. All of that part of attacking other or attacking an agent is, for me now, unknown.
Yeah, so with the AI agents, I just had an interview about specifically that right before this interview, and so the game developers actually turned on or woke up the AI agents just a few hours ago, which means that they are now active kind of participants in the game. They're moving around, they're attacking villages, realms, but you can also chat with them. And this is like a big thing with that kind of separates, I think, AI agents as compared to NPCs, non-playable characters in games that we're all used to playing in the past because we all grew up with games. So I'm curious if, because the Daydreams agents started within Starknet through Loaf, the lead developer behind Eternum as well, and several of the games in the Starknet ecosystem do have plans to integrate Daydreams agents in some way or another. I'm curious if that's something that you guys are also potentially looking into, trying to integrate with Jokers of Neon in some way.
Not in the short term, but at some point we want to include a PvP mode for Jokers of Neon. And so you would be able to collect these cards that I mentioned in the classic mode, and then use that cards to build your deck and play a battle against other players. At that point, I think we would need agents. Our community is not big enough for you to always have people playing the game and searching for a match instantaneously all the time. So if you don't have agents that you can play against, it would be a very bad experience for users because you rarely will find a player to match against. That's what we were thinking towards the next releases of Jokers of Neon. But until then, we don't have plans to integrate agents.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's always interesting, I think, to get perspective from the different games on how they might be using AI agents, because fully on-chain games are just perfectly fit for them. You can interact with every single game mechanic because everything is a contract. Yeah, 100%. I'm curious in terms of the mainnet go-to-market for Jokers of Neon. Is there perhaps a game or a project that you're familiar with in the crypto space that you're trying to maybe replicate some of their approaches to how they did their launch? Some inspiration that you're taking from some other project, perhaps?
We followed a bit the campaign that is doing. We're taking some inspiration there. And I would say we're checking all the Starknet games that launched before us and are experiencing with this audience. And I think in the long term, we will focus on a wider audience, a Web2 audience, because I think our game, as I said before, it's very intuitive and can be played by anyone, right? But we are thinking on focusing first on a Web3 audience, taking advantage of the strengths that the blockchain give us. We aim to build a loyal, engaged community that can help spread the word about the game and get to a wider audience down the line.
You mentioned Gigaverse as being one of the inspirations for go-to-market. Are there some specific things that you can mention?
We've been looking at the NFT campaigns that they launched, and they have this NFT collection that give the players some different rewards or more actions that they can do in game. So I think that's a very clever approach.
Yeah, very much agreed. It's what I'm doing on Gigaverse as well with the GigaRoms, NFTs, and I always love trying to extract go-to-market knowledge from this, the guy behind Gigaverse. So I'm very happy to hear
Yes.
that you guys are following how he handles things, because I think it's one of the better games out there in terms of the go-to-market approach, that's for sure. It's such a fun experience, this whole go-to-market meta game. So definitely something to for sure look towards as a game creator. Now, in terms of maybe some of the challenges that you guys are having on your end, either in terms of a person who you find missing on your team, you don't have a specific role, or a part of the whole game development journey that you're struggling with for some reason, are there some things that you can point out as being major hurdles or obstacles for you guys that you haven't really been able to overcome or have had a lot of troubles to overcome?
I think our biggest challenge right now is community building. The game is fun. People who try it usually get hooked to it. But the hardest part is just it into more hands. We are a small team, super focused on development, so growth and outreach can sometimes be on the backseat, I would say. So we know the game has potential, and we need to build a player base that's excited and engaged and sticks to the game. That means more events, maybe working with creators or communities, more things that can help us build our community.
Yeah, I agree with that. As Nico said, we are just a couple nerds that have zero knowledge in marketing, so it's the hard part.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, this is also for sure something that I hear the most as answers to this question. I think specifically fully on-chain games are something that the people that it attracts, as far as people who choose to build fully on-chain games, are very specific people, and quite often they are not the most marketing. That's not the background they come from. It's interesting to see how that changes over the next few months to years as more people start getting involved in these ecosystems, because it definitely feels it's more and more fuel is getting put onto the fire, and the fire is rising with more and more mainnet games coming out, just like you guys, quite soon. Perhaps at this point, it might be good to chat about what are some of the things that you're seeing in the fully on-chain game space. Now, you mentioned you've been part of it for, I guess, a bit more than a year at this point. From just interacting with all the different teams, both on Starknet, but perhaps also some fully on-chain games that are building elsewhere, are there some specific things that you find, some patterns among the people who are building these games or people who are interested in fully on-chain games?
I think it's still early, and that's exciting, but sometimes it feels like we're building for devs more than for players. There's a lot of focus on tech first thinking, which is cool, but we need to care more about the gamers, the game design, the UX, and just making things fun. There are lots of good examples out there. We mentioned Eternum, but maybe some other games like onchain with way less development time, but still a very fun and polished experience for a Web3 specific public with an original idea. I would like to see more of that moving forward.
I very much agree. Yeah. Quick, fast experimentation, I think it would be a very good thing for the ecosystem. And I think we're seeing some game studios start pushing out some very fun experiences in a very short amount of times, because Dojo and also other infrastructure products on other blockchains are now finally at a point where you can really go to a game jam and then within a few weeks already push out a very playable experience without needing to focus on all the low-level things that you had to if you were building, or if you wanted to build experiences like this in like 2021, 2022, 2023.
Exactly. Yeah.
As the very final question that I always ask on these first interviews is, if you had to explain Jokers of Neon in 2 sentences to a random person on the street who knows nothing, how would you go about it?
I would say it's a strategy card game where you build a deck, play poker hands, and try to beat increasingly tough levels. think Balatro meets Slay the Spire, but with your own cards, online tournaments, and real rewards.
Hell yeah, that's actually very good. I think nice and concise, but no fluff. Every word had kind of a meaning in the explanation. It's very well put across.
Cool.
Awesome, guys. Do you have any final thoughts you would like to share with the audience?
I would like to say it's not a poker game. If you don't like poker, you don't know how to play poker, you can still play Jokers of Neon